And welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Peter Winnick. I'm the founder and CEO of Thought Leadership Leverage, and you're joining us on the podcast today, which is Leveraging Thought Leadership. Today, my guest is Katy Kvalvik. Katy is the creator of the Harmony Method, which is a blueprint for work-life harmony. She's the founder of Southwestern Empowerment, which is a personal and professional development company that exists to transform and inspire today's leader. So welcome to the program, Katy. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Peter. I'm so honored to be here.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad to have you. So let's just sort of dive right in. Here we are. You've got the Harmony Method. Why don't we first start with sort of what is that, and then we'll talk about what you do with it and how you get it out in the world.
Yeah, so the Harmony Method is really looking at a flexible blueprint around mindset, communication, and integrative health for healing and high performance.
Okay.
And so I use it. It was part of my journey 12 years ago. I was in two consecutive accidents where I had to rebuild my whole entire body and relearn how to walk. And through that journey, I learned a lot of different skill sets. And about 4 years after I had gone through everything, I was able to heal my body completely. And it put me on this journey to really learn on a deeper level, on a physical, emotional, mental, spiritual level. How is everything connected, and looking at it in a holistic approach. And so I came to about with the Harmony Method of just, it came out of really watching people suffer through life and through work and through their relationships and just all these different elements. And through my journey along the way, I learned so many things. I went back to school and went and just learned all this information. I wanted to make sure I could put together in a blueprint so that people could be able to get the results that they were looking for.
So is this the case that you were initially the first doctor and the first patient, and then decided to codify it in terms of into a methodology to help others, or no?
My background is that I was a corporate sales executive in the medical device field and implantable devices. So I've been in thousands of surgeries and then doing, business negotiation for different contracts. And then part of my background was I was a sports medicine trainer when I was in school. And so I understood anatomy and physiology really well, and just navigating through everything. It was learning how to put these pieces together on multiple levels, not just on the physical level.
Where I was going is that you sort of operated on yourself, right? Because you said that you were trying to crack this problem for you, and then you did that, and you figured out that you've got a way to do that, and now you're doing it for others. That's sort of where I was going there. Is that a fair?
Yeah, I think that was a big aha moment, was this a massive amount of experimentation I had to do on myself. And really, when I was hitting rock bottom and turning my mindset around, it was really this commitment that I was going to heal and that I have to figure this out. And I needed to take 100% ownership of my results and to really be at that responsibility level. And so definitely what you're saying, it was deep self-discovery, trying out a lot of different things, failing a lot as
Yeah.
well. And through those struggles and challenges, also seeing different strengths that would come out of that
Got it.
and putting together and learning. And then how could I share this with other people as well?
So I want to ask you this. So one of the things that I see in my work is I'll call it sort of the curse of the expert, right? So you've now figured out how to crack this code on yourself. And like you said, you made some mistakes along the way, et cetera. But then you got it to a place where you said, yeah, this kind of works, right? Now that you're going to turn it into a methodology and deploy it on others, it forces you to codify it in a way that it's teachable. Because if it just sort of lives in your brain and you know how to pull it out when you need it, that's all fine and dandy, but you can't make a business out of that. So how easy, hard, difficult, etc. was it to be able to codify it into a replicatable process or methodology for you?
Well, the big thing is I saw for looking at a methodology is that we're just not taught these skill sets in school.
Yep.
And what's the biggest missing point was the foundation, just the basics. And that's why I call it a flexible blueprint, because people are trying to get these results and they put this structure on it or framework, and they're missing the whole basics. Like, what are the basics? And getting back to the basics and building foundation,
Yep.
like you're looking at a house and then building on top of it.
But that forces you to even define, according to the harmony method, the basics are A, B, C, and D, because you could define that lots of different ways, right? So it's what you include and what you exclude.
Yeah, and so there's two processes that I went through. Obviously, there was an internal process of going through all these different things. I studied over 150 dietary and lifestyle theories and just started studying so many different systems of information. And what I got curious was not what one system was saying, but what were all the systems saying consistently with the foundation. And I was really grabbing from experts and research and data and then experimenting and flushing things out and
Got
simplifying
it.
those frameworks. And really, that's what I got most curious about was one of my strengths learning through the struggle of what I went through was I'm able to go into many systems of information, not be attached to one way, but be a
I
translator
love it. I love it.
and to be able to take that material and how can we simplify it and get really clear on what the data is, what's the science, and or the experience and leverage that, and then how do we actually do this so it's realistic and it's actually pliable in everyday life.
Excellent. So let's move to the business side of the house for a moment. Now you've got this methodology, you've got the confidence that it works, and now there's lots of potential things you can do, right? You could write a book, you could turn it into a speech, you can turn it into video assessments, etc. Tell us about how you went about making the decisions that you did to land in the place where you are.
Okay, yeah, the first decision was really getting on top of how to get training around working with people.
Okay.
And so I have multiple certifications, and so that was a big part was becoming a certified executive coach. I was a certified board certified health counselor and health coach, and then did a 4-year program, become a trainer of neurolinguistics programming, a trainer of mental motion release techniques. And so I was bringing in these different elements of getting that training and then connecting it to how I could start working with people one to one and then also speak with people. But then also, who are those people out there that I could reach that couldn't necessarily come to a training or be in a one to one coaching? And so the avenue I went was creating online content and online programs.
Okay.
And so on the business side, I was really curious about this about 5 years ago. That's when online programs were getting its traction and becoming popular. And I felt too that there's just a lot of interaction when you're able to have that video content and then have also PDFs and micro learnings so that people can really break it down into their busy lifestyle.
Okay.
Because I know there's statistics out there that most people don't read
Yep.
past the second
Yep.
chapter of books. And there's all these things. And I was like, how do I make this so it's digestible for the busy person who doesn't have much time?
Got it. So when you move to online learning, I mean, it's a whole different planet, right? Now there's a series of things you have to figure out, both from a technology perspective to a learning efficacy perspective, and then this whole other planet of sales and marketing. I want to go to the sales and marketing side now. So you went back and you got all the certifications and sort of recalibrated from an educational perspective the things that you would need in order to do this well. But now you're in the business of selling online digital content, which is not covered by any of the educational programs that you went through. How do you crack that code, or how have you cracked that
A lot of research and modeling and learning about how other people have done it. And what I got really curious about, what were those beginning steps of how people were finding traction? And so I was using the online programs, especially when I was speaking, that's how I would connect with people as well. And then getting traction through working and teaming up and working with different agencies and just learning how to incorporate tracking mechanisms as well of how you could get feedback, because I think those golden nuggets is really from your audience, not you trying to guess what people want. It was getting out and getting testimonials and just understanding what how to make this so that people can connect with it, and then being able to work with different, I guess, elements and lanes and segments for distribution.
If you're enjoying this episode of Leveraging Thought Leadership, please make sure to subscribe. If you'd like to help spread the word about our podcast, please leave us a review and share it with your friends. We're available on Apple Podcast and on all major listening apps, as well as at thoughtleadershipleverage.com/podcasts. Yeah, so let's talk about the distribution. What are the two or three things that you that you learned that were sort of surprising to you around the sales, marketing, and distribution side of content? Because this is the place where people get stuck, and you've done a great job where they've got their expertise, they've got their passion, they've got the content, etc. And then they port it over into a modality, in this case, video-based learning, and then dot dot dot, right? Then it's like, oh my God, I got to sell this stuff. Like I didn't sign up for that. Like tell us a little bit of the things that surprised you that you had to sort of maybe change your thinking or take a different approach.
Well, it's really fascinating, Peter, because when you go online, there's so many of these even online programs and courses of how to sell your
The whole cottage
information
industry of
and different thought leaders. I mean, it's amazing, and you have people that I don't even know how they even are, certified, or I don't even know, just been targeted that they are expert in that. And so it was really fascinating just having such a heavy sales background that I did have within health and wellness as well. I came back to these elements of just getting with people and getting referrals and doing direct
ah.
sales. I think that's a big thing, is talking with people directly. And I think we've gotten into this with the technology age, is that, oh, we need to crack all these codes, which I think that's part of it. There is elements of social media and marketing and all these things.
So I got a million questions on
Yeah.
that. So the short answer to what you did, you cracked the code by sort of not cracking the code, because there's sort of two schools of thought on how do you sell digital content effectively. Number one is you do the whole funnel thing and the clickbait, and like there's a whole, like you said, a cottage industry of how do you go direct to an end user, get them into the system, get them into the funnel, click here, download this, track every move they make, follow them from their phone to their Facebook, etc. And not that that's good or bad, we could debate that. And then the other side is just traditional sales, right? So if you're going the direct sales approach, my underlying assumption would be you can't afford to do that on a onesie twosie basis, right? So you're going, if you're selling directly, you can't afford to sell one unit. You have to sell to organizations and enterprises that need to upskill lots of folks. Am I on the right track there?
Yeah, there's a few things. I mean, there'd be different leads. Like if we're going to look at dialing and prospecting and leads, I would look at different segments. So if it was corporately, if I had corporate leads, since I do so much CEO coaching and executive coaching, there was different elements within that. And then it was just direct, once I could get someone on the phone, or I could be in person with them and be with a connector who was connected to a huge community. That was so key, to be able to have that relationship and to be very authentic and genuine in what you're passionate about. And I think that's the missing key too, is that we're trying to crack this code on online programs and revenue generating products and all these things, but we're missing the heart of the matter. And so it's really about getting out and being with the people, versus a lot of times what I've heard and gone through so many of these programs, just learning the process of social media marketing and sales online and everything, to webinars, to podcasts, to everything else. There's this interesting disconnect with being with the people, that your demographic. And so I think that is just so important, to be able to communicate and to connect on a deep level. And that is what I really is this igniting of just people getting completely inspired and motivated from what you're trying to do and what you're about.
Got it. So that's interesting. So can you give an example of that?
Sure. What's specifically within that?
Sort of the first piece of sort of the authenticity to the tribe, more or less.
Yeah, so it's really getting clear on what your value is and what you're sharing. Like what are you sharing with the world, and getting clear on what that is, and then finding that need where there's a solution, if that's where you're coming from, if it's a service, wherever that is finding what groups and what communities and associations and different areas, what is that their core problem or pain in that area, and how can you be at service and to be able to be at that level of giving back. And so it becomes more organic versus you're pushing a thing onto someone.
Yep. So we do a lot of work with our clients in identifying what we call avatars, which are representative, of the folks that they're trying to help and work with. And then on layering on top of that, the pain point. So it sounds like we might be using different language, but thematically we're there. How do you know? Because, marketing is basically lots of hypotheses thrown against the wall, sort of what the right avatar is and the right pain point where you get that resonance where they go, yes, I need this. I need this now.
I think it's looking at your story and where your pain points were and your struggles were,
Okay.
and being able to identify, because I think that's the whole thing, is if you've been through, as a guide, and you've been through a process where there's an obstacle and a challenge and a struggle, and you're on the other side and you're able to give value there and to really guide people through a process that you've already been through. And then you also have, the data to back it up, everything else. That's kind of the key element for positioning. And then it's finding, I'm on the same page as you, is finding your 2 or 3 avatars and really focusing in on what is their world like, what is going on that day to day, and not just guessing or coming up with it, because it could be similar to what you've gone through. And so you can be thinking about those personal things, but really going and talking to a lot of people and speaking to them and really learning about their world and what's happening, because those golden nuggets are what's really going to make it so you can tailor your messaging, everything to them, versus trying to come up with the master plan on your own and spending months and years of trying to tweak it, versus just being with the people that you want to serve and you want to be with.
No, I love it. I love it. And I think, the mistake I see people make is they've got something they're really passionate about. They dive deep, they do the research, et cetera, et cetera. And they separate sort of the R&D piece from the product development piece. And the best time to get great feedback is before you've shipped something, right? Like, while it's still wet cement and somebody can go, that's awful. Or actually, if you thought about it a little bit this way or added this to it, and use the process of creating great content as an R&D tool as well, because it'll get you there faster, it'll get you there better, it'll getting the input of the potential end user early on in the process is critical. And I don't think enough people do that. It sounds like you've done that.
I completely agree with you. It's really having soft launches, learning, what is that direct feedback, and having a open mind about it as the person creating the curriculum, and to be open to this process of the original idea might be transformed for what actually the market wants and your demographic wants. And so being flexible and adaptable.
Yeah, totally. As we start to wind up here, any final thoughts, anything that you would, go back in time and recommend to yourself now that you didn't know when you started that would make your life easier?
I think we're right on it, is that if you are, a passionate person, you're in service, being an author, a speaker, a coach, all these different elements as giving back, and you want to produce more products, is before spending, lots of time on developing things, is just doing that. What we're talking about right now is doing the research, getting an outline, getting things done where you get that feedback. Because I think that was probably one of my biggest things is in the beginning, the beginning years of people creating online programs is when I started looking at this seriously. So there wasn't, we're at a different spot now. And to learn how to be most efficient in that process, so you're not spending all this time and money on programs and just so many different things you could go down. It's really just getting clear on what those elements are, and to be open to that multiple feedback loop to tailor the product so it's completely into your niche or demographics or the avatars that we were talking about.
Fantastic. Well, this has been great. Lots and lots of great stuff. We violently agreed on many things, so that's always encouraging. I think either we're both on the right track, or somebody will tell us we're wrong. But my instincts are we're both on the right track. So it's always interesting and refreshing. But I appreciate you coming on board and sharing your story with us. Thank you so much, Katy.
Thank you so much, Peter.
To learn more about Thought Leadership Leverage, please visit our website at thoughtleadershipleverage.com. To reach me directly, feel free to email me at peter@thoughtleadershipleverage.com. And please subscribe to Leveraging Thought Leadership on iTunes or your favorite podcast app to get your weekly episode automatically.